Bandai Namco presents these games that are not very good. That's mean. Tekken Revolution is just not a good game, okay? It's just not. Look, it's the Namco logo. Remember that? You won't. But that's it. That's the intro you get for Tekken Revolution. I usually go on about the pre-rendered cutscenes, the FMVs, all the work they put into to present the game, and there's just nothing in this game. You have your standard pre-rendered stuff for the logos and stuff like that, but that's it. And that's pretty much the epitome of what this game represents. Hollow copy and paste from another game without understanding what made those games at least more fun. I wouldn't say better. Not a lot of those games are good. In comparison to some of the older games. I can't actually play the game, right? You always had to be online to play this, and it's just a pain in the butt to make it work. Look, it's literally, remember character I don't care about? Yes. Remember another character I don't care about? With upgraded graphics and a different soundtrack, but I'm basically going to have footage in the background while I talk over the epitome of this game. Let's get into what this game is, shall we? It's a free-to-play fighting game that requires you to be online to play, even for single-player modes. I know we're off to a great start already, but it's getting worse from here. It was made to capitalize on the mobile market, while also trying to have a crossover audience with the Sony market. This game was only released on the PlayStation 3, which made little sense at this point in the Tekken franchise, since the two previous Tekken games, Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2, were on more than one console. This meant less downloads for the game and cutting off some of the fans that came from the Xbox 360 and even, yes, the Wii U. We're still going strong. All versions were released in June of 2013, which meant it was also competing with Tekken Tag Tournament 2 for playtime, and also trying to bring people who didn't like Tekken Tag Tournament 2 over to this game, which I don't think was the best plan for either of these games, based on the results of this game, and the results of Tekken Tag Tournament 2. The lesser of two evils, essentially, with those two games. But let's get into the game modes. There aren't many modes in this game, so let's go through them individually. Arcade mode had 8 stages with 3 difficulties, with each difficulty giving you more rewards from your opponents. I'm sorry for laughing. This game is just too absurd to even talk about regularly. There are secret sub-bosses that have a chance of spawning. The higher the difficulty, the better chance you have them spawning, which gives extra rewards if you defeat them. Online Versus has ranked match, player match, and premium session. Premium session allows you to do player match for 1 hour without using coins, which are necessary to play online or arcade mode, which I'll explain much more later. There is a warm-up space, which is to practice your moves, but the only dummy you could fight is Mokujin, which I don't think you can adjust to fight a certain character in this game. Martial law! Mokujin was just like arcade mode, but with different Jins like Tetsujin and Kinjin that required a ticket to play. After the version 1.03 update was added to the game, they reduced the matches to 3 for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard they try. In that same update, Turbo Mode was added at increased gameplay speed, but it only happened in Mokujin Rush and was random, which really didn't benefit the overall experience of the game. To end this section off, the game didn't have a training mode until later in its lifetime, so take that as you will, and there aren't many stages in this game, since all of them are taken from other previous games. Let's segue on into the most important part of a game, and that's the gameplay. One of the biggest changes to the gameplay is the removal of the bound system that was introduced in Tekken 6. Which meant any combos that relied on that mechanic were almost non-existent, which I wish they changed the characters to compensate for that, but they just took what was from Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and brought it over to this game with improved graphics and a new soundtrack, okay? There was a tiny bit of a spectacle in this dumpster fire of a game, but it was there. You also had new gameplay mechanics added to the game. That would be the inspiration for Power Crush in Tekken 7 and other changes made in that game. You now had critical arts and special arts. Each character had 4 critical arts, which were certain moves that had a chance of dealing critical hits for more damage, which is not necessary in a game that had so much juggling and combo potential in it. Do you want an unbalanced game? This is how you get an unbalanced game. There's also a lot of effects in this game. Critical arts and special arts had special effects on them each, and even some basic level moves that you'd see in other games had a lot more effects on them, which could affect visually what you're seeing and whether or not you guessed correctly or even able to counter properly. Special arts were slightly invincible and increased hitbox moves that did a significant amount of damage if they hit. A lot of fighting games started to do this, and I don't like it. But I digress. The worst compounded part of the gameplay was the character enhancement. Yes, just like a standard RPG, you had 3 stats you could dump skill points into. Power, which increased your base damage. Endurance, which increased your health. Or Vigor, which increased your chances of a critical hit and entering Rage mode. This is where most of the unbalanced gameplay came from. That would see characters like Martial Law do an insane amount of damage from a small number of hits. Just a little bit. Just one hit do 70% damage, maybe? I don't know. You feel like it? Power was the most abused skill, and thankfully they thought of this before they released the game. You can disable character enhancements for online versus, but have fun trying to disable that in arcade mode. You also had limited amount of skill point allocation based on your level, and each character could have up to 320 skill points added to them, which meant you had to grind in this glorified mobile game, which caused a lot of people to start spending more money to gain higher levels quicker and made this game fundamentally pay to win. Now we can get into the microtransactions, which made the game overall worse. Arcade coins could be bought, which had the same function as a premium ticket, allowing it to regenerate as a free ticket as long as you kept winning, which was rough for new players coming in to consistently compete against more experienced Tekken players. Premium and battle coins were necessary for arcade or online respectively, which would regenerate periodically, just like it would in your standard energy-based mobile game. There's also a list of items that could be bought from the PlayStation Store. Premium coins, costumes, premium effects, reset drinks, premium season pass, and character unlock pass. To get a glimpse to the prices, a reset drink, which was used to reset a character's stats to 0 and refund fight money on that character, had the price of $6.52, around £5. Just for a single reset drink. You did get a free one, but that doesn't excuse how abysmal and greedy Bandai Namco was, and still is to this day, to try and snatch money out of the consumer's hands. Including all that was said previously, I will now begrudgingly talk about the characters in this game. Here's a list of characters available when the game launched in alphabetical order. Alisa, unlockable. Asuka, Brian Fury, unlockable, which is insane for a guy who has been a mainstay character in Tekken since Tekken 3. Heihachi Mishima, who is unplayable, and a sub-boss, which is also insane since he's a mainstay character and playable in most other Tekken games. Jack 6, Jinpachi Mishima, who is unplayable and a sub-boss despite being playable in Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and Tekken Dark Resurrection. Kazuya, Devil Kazuya, King, Lars, Leo, who was an unlockable, Lily, Martial Law, who was busted with player enhancements, Ogre, Golden Ogre, who was the final boss and unplayable despite being playable before, Paul Phoenix, and Steve Fox as the last default unlockable character. They added more characters to this game through periodic updates, which I will now state in alphabetical order. Armor King, Bob, Christy, Devil Jin, Dragunov, Eliza, who is about a 1,000-year-old vampire that went to sleep for 600 years and was voted in based on a poll done on the official Tekken Facebook page. Take that as you will. Fang, Huarang, JC, Jin, which is wild that he wasn't in the base game. Jun, Jin, who is also new but is an unplayable sub-boss. Kuma, Kunimitsu, Lee, Xiaoyu, Miguel, Mokujin, who's also a sub-boss and unplayable, which is also bizarre. Nina Williams, and Tetsujin, who is a sub-boss and unplayable. JC was the last added character on February 13th, 2014, and them adding characters periodically instead of them already being in the game as unlockable or playables was a bad move, since many people more than likely didn't want to play the game after the first few months because of all the gimmicks, mechanics, and lack of things this game did or did not have. Unlocking characters required a certain amount of gift points and was random who you got, so you couldn't even choose which character you wanted to unlock unless you bought them with real money. It started with 1,000 gift points and ended at 1.09 million. But Eliza required 20,000 blood seals that you had to get from all the other modes in the game, which you didn't get a whole lot, so have fun grinding. Speaking of grinding, I hope you had fun grinding, because to add insult to injury, this game was taken off the PlayStation Store in March of 2017, and there were no more updates added to the game. Much like the real Tekken mobile games Bandai Namco released, this game was a mess and didn't get more fans to enjoy the series like previous games did. This is by far one of the worst Tekken games ever made, and I wish it didn't exist, but here we are today. More retrospectives and reviews on the way as we finally head towards Tekken 7, for better or for worse, for real this time. I know I said this at the end of the Soul Calibur 5 video, but I wanted to do this game just in case I end up forgetting about it in the future, okay? Bye-bye.